What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So today we are going to be doing another maintenance project on my 2019 Ford F250 Diesel truck. And what we're going to be doing is replacing the brake pads. And the brake pads that I'm going to be upgrading to are the Powerstop Extreme ceramic brake pads. Now at some point I always end up upgrading my brake pads to the Powerstop Extreme ceramic heavy duty brake pads for my diesel trucks because they give you great stopping power, they last longer, and they don't typically burn off as much brake dust, which could ruin the finish on your custom wheels. So without further ado, let's jump in and let's get it done. Okay, and if you look over here, these are the brake pads that I went with. So again, if we go ahead and open them up, you can see they come with the new clips. They come with a little package of grease, and then you got your new ceramic brake pads. So if I just go ahead and open this up, I can show you what they look like. There you go. So that right there is the new Powerstop Extreme ceramic brake pads. And again, these are really good for heavy duty trucks. I really like these brake pads because again, they have really good stopping power. They seem to last forever and they don't release as much brake dust, which could burn off and damage the finish of your nice wheels. So we got those, and then these right here are the same exact ones. Clips, grease, brake pads. So let me go ahead and pull the truck in the garage. Let me get the wheels off and let's start getting this done. Okay, so we're on the passenger rear wheel. We're just gonna start there for now. So basically, once you safely jack up your truck, you get your wheel off. So I always like to try to do the simplest way first before taking everything else off. So what you wanna do is just get yourself a 17mm socket to take these outer bolts off. Okay, not too bad there. Okay, not too bad there. Then go ahead and back those bolts out all the way. Okay. All right. Okay, so once you get those two bolts out, your outer brake caliper housing should pop off. Now keep in mind, it might be sticking to your brake pads a little bit, so you might need to use like a little screwdriver and just kind of like wedge it a little bit like that to get it to come off. Okay, once you pop it off, you're gonna need some type of strap or something to hold your outer brake caliper out of the way because it is still connected to your brake line. So I usually just use some type of strap like this and just strap the brake caliper out of the way just like that. Now we have access to our brake pads. Typically you can pull these out pretty easy. If not, just be careful, grab a screwdriver and just kind of wedge them out like that and you can get your brake pads out. Now these brake pads really aren't that bad. There still seems to be a decent amount of brake pad life left, but I'm gonna go ahead and swap them out for the ceramic brake pads because every heavy duty truck I get, I always swap out the brake pads to heavy duty ceramic brake pads because I think they're a better brake pad overall. So let's get these off. Okay, same thing on that one. Still got some brake pad left, but again, not a big deal. And then the next thing you want to do is take these little metal clips off. They're just little clips that pop on. You pop them off, they look just like that. Typically your new kit is going to come with new metal clips, so you're going to be putting new metal clips on anyway, so just go ahead and pull the old ones off. You just grab the tab, lift up and pop them off. Do that on both sides. And you're good to go. Now the next thing you want to do is install your new clips that look just like this. Okay, the same thing you just took out, but brand new. On the big tab here on the back, there's gonna be a little tiny side clip there. You want that to face the outer portion of your brake caliper, not towards the middle. So basically what you wanna do is you want it to look like this. You want your big tab facing down, but you want that little side tab to be on the outside over here because that little tab stops this clip from sliding in towards your actual rotor here. So all you're gonna do to install it is line it up just like this and push it back into place. Okay, and sometimes what I like to do is just get a screwdriver and just push it up in there because again, my fingers don't always fit very well in there. Okay. Okay. There you go. So once you do that, you're going to do the same thing on the bottom. Now, because we're on the bottom, we want the big tab facing up. We want the side tab facing to the outside. Line it up and press it in. Okay, that's it. Go ahead and do the same thing on the inner side. So now what I like to do is just take a little grease. I have a little grease gun here. I just put a little grease on my finger and I grease the inner portion right here where my brake pads are going to slide back and forth on. I just put a little grease there. Again, it just helps the brake pad to slide back and forth. Okay, you don't need a whole lot, just a little bit. All right, and then the next thing we're going to do is re-grease our back pins. So all you got to do, there's a pin here with a little rubber bushing. All you got to do is kind of grab the bushing and pull, and it pops right off. And as you can see here, there's barely any grease left on there, and you don't want a whole lot of grease at the tip. So what I'll do, I'll take a little paper towel, wipe off all that grease off the pin, wipe the back off there. Then what I'll do, I'll take some fresh grease on my finger and I'll just rub some grease on the pin. Now you do not want grease on the tip of the pin because again, any grease on the tip of the pin is going to stop the pin from going in all the way. So you just want to grease the sides of the pin like this. Okay? And at the same time, inspect your boot. Because if this rubber boot right here is broken or cracked or dry rotted, you're going to want to get those replaced. But once you re-grease your pin, just slide it back in. Pop the boot back on. Let's grab the lower one. Get our paper towel. Clean that off. Add some new grease. Just like that. Make sure there's no grease on the tip. And we're good. Slide that back in. Okay. You want to take one of your rear brake pads like this. And obviously you want the brake pad facing the rotor here. So you want this metal portion here facing the outside. And you want the contour of the brake to match the rotor. So all we're going to do is these little tabs here at the top and this tab here in the bottom, they're going to slide into those grooves. Now it's going to be tight. So you're going to have to use this little edge of the bracket here to push on this upper bracket. Just like that. Slide it in. And then you're going to use your finger or the bracket to press that side in and try to get it to line up. Now, it's not always going to line up, so this is where it gets tricky. Like that. Use your hammer. Gently tap it in to get it lined up. Gently tap it in. Push it in the rest of the way with your fingers, and you're good to go. Now again, depending on where you have the most room to do this, again, I'm trying to do this while I could still keep you in the camera frame here. I'm going to try to do it from the top first, get that top part in, and then I'm going to try to wedge it in on the bottom. Okay. Tap it in. Okay. And we're good with that. Now again, that's the easier way of doing this. The slightly harder way is to take out the larger bolts in the back of your bottom brake caliper housing, which are on there really tight. You usually need a breaker bar to get those off. You can then remove the lower brake caliper from the rotor and wedge in your brake pads that way. It's a little easier to do that, but it's a lot harder to take the lower bracket off. So I always try to go the easy way and just put my brake pads on without removing the lower brake caliper. Okay, so we're on the passenger side front wheel, but it's sunny and hot out today, and as soon as I take my camera outside, it shuts off because it's overheating. So we're just gonna go ahead and film this one here on the inside, but just know the process of what we're doing here is the same exact process on the other three wheels. Okay, so now that we got our brake pads put back on, we're just going to take some of the supplied grease that came with the Powerstop Extreme kit, and we're going to put a little bit on our finger. Okay, and then we're going to rub the grease on the outer metal portion of your brake pad. You're just putting it on the outside out here because this is where your pistons of your brake caliper presses up against, and you don't want those pistons to, get seized on there from the temperature changes. So you put a little bit of grease on there like that, and you're good. Obviously, the more important side is the side with the actual pistons, because on your brake caliper, only one side has the pistons. So now that we have all that done, the last thing we have to do is compress our brake caliper. Let me just unhook it, and I'm just going to set it here on my lap. But remember, before you start to compress these pistons, make sure you go up under the hood and take off the brake fluid reservoir cap. You want to take the cap off before you start compressing these pistons, because when you compress these pistons in, that brake fluid is going to go back up through the line, and it needs to go into the brake reservoir, so you need a place for that air to go. So take the cap off your brake fluid reservoir before you start compressing your pistons. You're then going to need some type of piston compression tool. I have this old one laying around for smaller vehicles, but I have a slightly bigger one for heavy duty trucks, because on heavy duty trucks the caliper is a lot bigger. So again, whatever you want to use to compress your pistons, that's up to you. I'm just letting you know what I use. I bought this little tool here off Amazon, super cheap, works pretty good. Now on some of these larger heavy duty trucks like this, these calipers are really big. So I end up sometimes still needing to grab a couple metal shims laying around, and I tuck them in there as well on this tool because it doesn't go all the way. But once you get your compression tool put in here, this particular one is sort of like a ratchet. There's a forward and a reverse. So you basically are just ratcheting it so it gets tight, and then you're ratcheting your pistons shut. So that's all you're doing. Remember, I have the brake fluid reservoir cap taken off, so that's allowing me to press these pistons in a little easier. Okay. So again, all this is cranking those pistons shut, hit the reverse button, back it off a little bit, pull the tool out. My pistons are now compressed. Now I can then pull this back over here and slide it back over top of my new brake pads. Because again, you're going to have to compress those pistons in order to get the brake caliper over top of the new pads. Because remember, the new pads are typically a lot thicker. Okay, got my first bolt in. Put my second bolt in. Okay, so there you go. Get my bolts put in. And that's it. Okay, now I'm just gonna go ahead and tighten my bolts back down using my breaker bar here. Again, you don't want them crazy tight, but you want them tight. Okay. So again, I'm just tightening my bolts back down. Okay, and that is it. That's how easy it is to change your brake pads on your heavy-duty Ford F250 diesel truck. Again, the easy way is to just take the outer caliper bracket off and try to replace the pads while the lower bracket is still mounted to the actual rotor. Now, if you happen to be replacing your rotors too, then you would have to take off the lower caliper bracket as well, which is just 2 big bolts on the back, and the whole caliper assembly will come off. But again, just for changing your brake pads, that's all you got to do. My rotors still seem to be in pretty decent condition. I don't see any kind of cracking or anything like that on my rotors, so they still seem to be pretty good. That's why I'm only replacing my brake pads at this point. So again, these heavy-duty diesel trucks are very heavy. You want to make sure you have good quality brake pads for optimum stopping power, especially if you're trying to tow something. I typically am towing my boat back and forth to the lake all the time, and these brake pads here were starting to feel a little mushy, meaning I just had to press my brake in a little further than I like to be able to get everything to stop properly. But I wanted to swap these out for some good quality brand new ceramic brake pads so that I have better stopping power. The brake pads last a lot longer. These ceramic brake pads also do not burn off as much hot brake dust, which could damage the finish on your wheels. And if you're like me and you're running higher quality aftermarket wheels, you don't want any of that hot brake dust to damage the finish of your wheels. So if you just go ahead and install some good quality ceramic brake pads, you won't have to worry about that. Again, spend a little bit more money, get a better quality brake pad, preferably a good ceramic brake pad. It's gonna give you better stopping power, it's gonna last longer, and it's not going to burn off as much hot brake dust, which can damage the finish on your wheels. So my overall impressions of the Powerstop Extreme Severe Duty Towing brake pads, these are the heavy duty ceramic brake pads. I definitely give them a thumbs up and give them a go, and I highly recommend using them. Okay, so we're all done. So we just went ahead and replaced all of our brake pads on the front and back with Powerstop Extreme heavy duty ceramic brake pads. Now all I have to do is come back up here, put my brake reservoir fluid cap back on, again creating that tight seal to create air pressure in the line. Then we can shut our hood. Then if we come up in the truck, when you first press on the brake pad, it's going to be very loose. Your brake pad's going to go all the way to the floor, just like that. And we're just going to slowly press on our brake pedal here to just push the fluid through and potentially remove any air bubbles from the system. So we're just going to pump that a little bit and then pump your brakes a few more times and you should be good to go. Okay, everybody, so we're all done. So we just went ahead and swapped out all of the old brake pads on my 2019 Ford F250 Diesel with brand new Powerstop Extreme heavy duty ceramic towing brake pads. And these brake pads are much better. They're going to give you better stopping power. They're going to last a lot longer, and they're not going to burn off as much brake dust, which could ruin your aftermarket wheel finish. So for any of you out there that have heavy duty trucks and you do a lot of towing and or have aftermarket wheels that you're trying to protect the finish of, I definitely recommend upgrading to the Powerstop Extreme ceramic heavy duty brake pads. But that's going to be it for today's video. I hope this video helps some of you out. do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button and like this video. If you have any questions, go ahead and put them in the comment section and I'll get back to you when I can. And also do me a favor, subscribe to the channel because it definitely helps me out and I greatly appreciate it. So that's it. I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you. Thank you. I truly appreciate you all. And as always, see you in the next video.